People frequently fake their own deaths to avoid trouble, whether it's a threat, a debt, or a prison sentence. In this video, we look at these notable cases. Welcome to Floating Skills. If you are a fan of true crime and mysteries, then you are at the right place. Do subscribe and hit the notification button to be notified anytime we post a new video. We post videos twice in a week. Now, let's get to the fakers. The first on the list is Aimee Semple McPherson. This Canadian-born evangelist went missing while swimming at a Los Angeles beach on May 18, 1926. One team member died while searching for her, and a bereaved follower of the charismatic religious leader drowned herself in despair. After 5 weeks, McPherson appeared in Mexico, claiming to have gone missing while fleeing would-be kidnappers. The kidnapping story appeared suspicious, and it was investigated as a possible fraud. It remained unresolved, however, until McPherson's death in 1944. The second person who faked his death is Aleister Crowley, a self-proclaimed prophet and the founder of the religion Thelema, committed suicide by jumping off a cliff near Lisbon, Portugal, in September 1930. Or so he pretended. He was found alive and well in Berlin 3 weeks later. It turned out to be an elaborate hoax he'd planned with a friend, poet Fernando Pessoa. His motivations are unknown, but it's possible he did it to get away from a woman he'd been traveling with and had grown bored with. Third on the list is Juan Pablo Garcia. When World War II ended in Europe, British spy Juan Pablo Garcia, with the assistance of his MI5 handlers, pretended to die of malaria in order to keep a covert eye on Germany. His wife never believed it and was not surprised when he was discovered 4 decades later, having been exposed by an investigative reporter named Nigel West. Garcia is one of Europe's most celebrated spies and was nicknamed Agent Garbo, due to his outstanding acting abilities. Fourth is Reverend Philip St. John Ross. When Reverend Philip St. John Wilson Ross, an English vicar, drowned during a seaside vacation in August 1955, his wife and congregation wept, until he was spotted in Switzerland with another woman, Kathleen Ryle, 2 years later. He had pretended to die and was living with Miss Ryle under the aliases Mr. and Mrs. Davies. The fifth person is Lord Lucan. The 7th Earl of Lucan, Richard John Bingham, was Diana, Princess of Wales's cousin by marriage. Lord Lucan, as he was commonly known, vanished in November 1974 after the murder of his children's nanny and an assault on his wife, who immediately recognized the attacker as Lucan. His abandoned car was eventually discovered with an empty bottle of prescription pills inside, giving the impression that Lucan had committed suicide. However, it is widely assumed that Lucan faked his death with the help of his wealthy and well-connected friends. Sixth is John Stonehouse, a British politician and member of Parliament, drowned in Florida in 1974, conveniently, it seemed, because he was deeply in debt. He was discovered 2 months later in Australia, where he was living under an assumed name. Because Lord Lucan had vanished earlier that year, it was initially assumed he was him. Stonehouse was convicted of fraud and related offences in 1976 and served 3 years in prison before being released on parole. Number 7th is Patrick McDermott, the boyfriend of Olivia Newton-John, an actress and singer. McDermott vanished during a fishing trip to Mexico in June 2005. Although he was never seen again, the circumstances surrounding his disappearance have led to speculation that McDermott faked his death in order to avoid significant debts, including child support payments to his ex-wife. The 8th is John Darwin, shown here with his wife and, died in 2002 while canoeing in the North Sea. The Darwins were actually looking for a life insurance payout. Darwin appeared in a London police station in 2007, pretending to have amnesia. Unfortunately for him, a photo of the couple in Panama, where they were looking to buy property, was discovered. The Darwins received a 6-year prison sentence for fraud and related charges. And eventually divorced John and wrote a book called Out of My Depth about her experiences. 9 is Samuel Israel, a former hedge fund manager, had been convicted of running a Ponzi scheme and was scheduled to report to prison on June 9, 2008. Instead, Israel abandoned his car near the Bear Mountain Bridge in upstate New York, with the words, "Suicide is painless," scrawled in the dust on the hood. Given the circumstances, the authorities did not believe Israel had committed suicide. He hadn't done so. Instead, he was hiding out in an RV parked off a nearby interstate with his girlfriend. After a month, he surrendered. Israel is still alive and in prison. The 10th is Stephen Kelloway and his wife. They tried a risky scheme while visiting Russia in 2008. She reported him dead, then returned to their home in Britain and presented the Russian death certificate she'd obtained for her husband. Stephen came forward 2 years later, admitting that his death had been staged in order to avoid an insurance fraud investigation. He had made an insurance claim on his business, which he then used to pay for his wife's breast augmentation surgery. Last but not least is Babchenko, Arkady. In 2018, Russian journalist Arkady Babchenko staged his own death with the assistance of Ukrainian security services. Babchenko had a contract out on his life, so the security forces planned an assassination in his apartment, complete with a phony assailant and gallons of pig blood. Babchenko cleaned up at the morgue and watched the news of his death on television. Babchenko revealed the truth after the threat was removed. "We are relieved that Arkady is still alive and that his attempted murder was averted." Alright, thanks for watching, and if you know anyone who might have faked his or her own death, do mention them in the comment below. Don't forget to subscribe. See you in the next video.